phoniness, and I don't want to accept reality. I want to get away and be a deaf mute. What's that smell? It must be Ackley.
Hey Holden, what's going on?
Ackley, you're so annoying. GTFO.
Holden, what are you doing today?
I'm just chilling, you know. Get out.
I'm not getting out. This is my
You're
room
such a
now.
phony. Go.
You're a phony.
You're phony. You're so gross.
Okay.
Get out, Ackley. Ackley's such a phony, and I hate phonies. Welcome back to the room, Stradlater. How was your day with my girl?
It was good. Don't worry about it. She's mine now.
She's my girl. James, mine.
Oh, you died.
I don't know about this, Sonny.
Well, you need to pay me,
I already gave you 5.
but I need the 10. If you don't want my services...
That's not gonna happen.
Okay, Holden.
I'm a confused individual.
Hey, Holden, since you didn't
Yo.
pay me, I brought my big guy Maurice with me.
What's up, Maurice?
Hand over the money.
I paid 5 already.
It was 10.
Oh!
Let's go, Sonny.
What are you doing?
I'm just admiring you.
Mr. Antolini, you weirdo. I'm out. I'm out of here.
Come back.
No.
Catcher in the Rye is written by J.D. Salinger, who struggled in several prep schools similar to Holden. The story begins in New Jersey at Pensy Prep in the 1940s through 50s. Holden has many struggles at his school and feels that he is surrounded by phonies. It causes him to want to move to New York City independently. He explores the city without any adults and escapes reality, but when he's there, he's unable to blend in because he fears change. The story takes place with Holden constantly running away from phonies, and the big city allows for him to explore the phoniness and gain experiences.
Hello, I'm Holden Caulfield, and I am 16 when most events in this book take place, although I am 17 when I'm narrating. I am disillusioned and angry with society, having failed and been kicked out of several schools due to my lack of effort. I idealize childhood and innocence, the joy I believe can only exist in children, and I am disgusted by more adult things like sexuality. I also detest phoniness, or fake and two-faced people. As I grow older and begin to lose my childlike qualities, and I am faced with cruelty and selfishness that characterizes the adult world, I try my hardest to cling to my individuality. My misery and depression lead me to suicidal thoughts and eventually the breakdown that leads me into the psychiatric facility from where I tell the story. My physical features already reflect my struggle. I'm tall, thin, and already going gray. I appear as depressed as I truly am. Hello, I am D.B. Caulfield, Holden's older brother. I represent Holden's fears about growing up, as I used to be an incredibly talented and creative writer, but now working in Hollywood, writing for the movies, which Holden hates. Despite Holden's disdain for me, selling out, he loves me very dearly. Oh, hello there. My name is Mr. Antolini. I was Holden's English teacher at his former boarding school. Holden was close to me and respected me, especially since I was the only one who was willing to approach James Castle's body after the incident. I am one of the few adults that can actually engage with Holden, and I use this to warn Holden that he is headed for a horrible fall. This bond between us is broken when Holden awakes to find me petting his hair, and he fears that I am a gay predator.
I'm Holden's history teacher, Mr. Spencer, from Pensy Prep. Before Holden left, I tried to convince him to grow up and start taking responsibility for his actions, to play along with the adult world. But Holden just wrote me off as another phony and wouldn't listen. Kids these days. Carl Luce, Holden's old student advisor from Elkton Hills. While Holden was in New York City, we met up for drinks and had a nice conversation. Holden openly admires me for my sexual experience. Hey, what's up? I'm Stradlater. I was Holden's roommate at Pensy Prep. Although I'm handsome and popular, Holden recognizes that I'm arrogant and rude, and he hates me and the phoniness that I represent. I'm Allie Caulfield, Holden's little brother. I died from leukemia when Holden was only 13, which means that I can perpetually retain the childhood innocence that Holden idealizes and continuously searches for. I'm described to be similar to Phoebe, and I'm adored by my brother. My death is arguably the most influential event in Holden's life.
I'm Phoebe, Holden's little sister. I always just want the best for my big brother, and I wanted to be with him when he had the extravagant idea of running away. He describes me as beautiful and charming, and I think of myself as pretty wise because I always try to be the mature one and give him advice. My name is Ackley, and I'm Holden's dorm neighbor. A lot of people like to tell me that I have bad hygiene and a lot of acne, but I just don't see it. I just really like to go into Holden's room and see what he's up to all the time. I'm Jane, Holden's childhood sweetheart, and Holden has a lot of respect and love for me, but we don't hang out as much as we used to anymore, but he'll always be in my heart. I'm Sally, Holden's ex-girlfriend. We often get in a lot of fights and arguments, but sometimes he keeps me around. My name is Sunny, and I'm a little upset because Holden didn't want to accept my services. I might have to call my friend Maurice because he didn't pay me his money, but I guess I'm just gonna sit here and live my sad life. There are many symbols that take place within Catcher in the Rye. One of them is the ducks, and Holden is always asking where the ducks go in the winter. The ducks show that you must change and move on in order to be successful. Another symbol that is prevalently used is his orange hunting hat that he uses to escape from reality. When he feels urges of anxiety, he pulls the hunting hat in front of his face to feel a sense of protection.
Throughout the story, several themes are presented. The first theme is phoniness. Holden lives by the moral code of hating phonies. If you are a phony, he will not like you, but throughout the story, his hatred of phonies is quite self-destructive in the end.
Theme number 2 is growing up. Holden is constantly fearful of change, and he is frequently making excuses to run away from the dreadful fate of reality. The third theme is depression and madness. So the story starts out with Holden telling a story in the mental facility, and he drops hints throughout the story that he's going crazy. He even calls himself a madman at one point.
We'll be taking a look through the events of J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye by flipping through Holden's journal. On July 18th, 1946, Holden's younger brother, Allie, dies of leukemia. This is devastating to Holden and continues to influence him throughout the entire book. Sometime later, while Holden is at Elkton Hills, a classmate of his, James Castle, commits suicide while wearing one of Holden's favorite turtleneck sweaters. On a Saturday morning in December 1949, Holden loses his team's fencing equipment while in New York, but buys himself a red hunting hat, which he loves. When he returns, Holden skips the big football game to talk to his history teacher, Mr. Spencer, who gives advice that Holden ignores as phony. He talks briefly to Ackley, a classmate, before Stradlater, his roommate, returns. Stradlater reveals that he is going on a date with Jane Gallagher and asks Holden to write an English paper for him. Holden writes the paper on his brother Allie's baseball mitt. When Stradlater returns, he gets into a fight with Holden over both the date and the topic of the paper. Holden then packs his things and leaves Pensy early for New York City. He rents a room at the Edmond Hotel before wandering the city, asking cab drivers about the ducks in Central Park, looking for bars where he can drink, trying to pick up women, and running into old acquaintances. He returns to the hotel and hires a prostitute, although he just wants to talk with her. When she demands more money than the original price, Holden refuses, so she returns with her pimp, Maurice, who beats up Holden and takes the money. The next morning, Holden goes to the Museum of Natural History, but he refuses to enter it. He then goes on a date with Sally Hayes. First, they go to a play, which Holden dislikes, then ice skating, and to a bar where they get into a fight after Holden asks her to run away with him. Holden walks home and sneaks in to see his sister, Phoebe. They dance and talk together, and Holden reveals that he would like to be the catcher in the rye. After he's done with talking with Phoebe, Holden leaves to spend the night at Mr. Antolini's. Mr. Antolini warns Holden that he's headed for a terrible fall. Later, Holden awakens to find Mr. Antolini petting his hair, and, fearing that he is a gay predator, runs away. The next morning, Holden meets his sister Phoebe at the Museum of Art, planning to say goodbye before heading west. However, he decides to stay and takes her to the zoo. Watching her on the carousel, Holden says that he is finally happy. A year later, sometime in 1950, Holden suffered a psychotic break and had to be placed in a psychiatric facility, where he tells the story of these 3 days a year ago. This concludes the sequence of events in J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye.